Hey everyone, this is Pastor Alec, and I'm here with Eli, and today we're going to talk about the Bible a little bit. So, Eli, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. You've been reading. What have you been reading?
Been reading Genesis chapter 1 through 3.
Genesis 1 through 3. Okay. Interesting part of the Bible.
Yeah. Came with some questions for
You got
you.
some questions. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk. Then what do you got for me?
My first one is, and it's the very first verse,
Okay.
is there a reason God created the world in the order he did?
Okay. Well, that's a
was-
good question. Is there a reason God created the world in the order that he did? Well, when he creates, what he does, he spends the first 3 days creating the, I'm trying to think of the right word, kind of the concepts and also the backdrop for the other 3 days.
Okay.
So he creates light and he separates light from darkness on the first day.
Right.
But then he creates the sun and the moon and the stars on the fourth day.
Yeah.
Okay, which is the first day of the second set of 3 days.
Right.
He separates the waters and the waters below and the waters above and kind of creates the sky on the second day. And then on the fifth day, the second of that second set of days, he creates the fish and the birds that fill those things.
Right.
On the third day, he creates the dry land and he introduces all the plants and all of that. And then on the sixth day, he creates the things that go on the dry land.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So you get. I think there is kind of there is a very clear pattern there.
Yeah.
And it's very fitting because he's not going to create animals before he creates the dry land.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Makes
Or
sense.
sorry, the dry land animals before he creates the
Yeah,
dry land.
yeah.
So I think there's a method to it all. It kind of builds, and of course the first thing he creates is light.
Right.
And John plays off of this where Jesus is the light that comes into the world and
Yeah.
everything begins with him. So, yeah, I think there's a
Okay.
reason for it.
Okay, yeah. I think that answered my question
Okay.
pretty well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Another one comes with the first chapter, at least.
Okay.
Was there any reason he rested? Does it say that at all?
Well, yeah, okay. So this is actually in chapter 2, the very beginning of chapter 2. It says, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation." And what he does is he basically establishes a 7-day week
Okay.
for us and says it's good for us to rest. Sometimes, especially kind of in our fast-paced world and culture, we don't think that we've got time to rest. But if God can take a day and rest,
that-
then so can you, right?
I understand that.
And of course, by the time Jesus rolls around, they've got all these different laws about what you're allowed to do on this Sabbath day. But Jesus, he actually challenges their conceptions of it. And he says, the seventh day, the Sabbath, it was made for humanity, not the other way around.
Right.
So it's made for you to be a benefit to you.
Yeah.
And so accept that benefit.
I'd never looked at it like that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't necessarily a question. I thought
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was a good observation that you can see how not necessarily stupid we are, but like how we don't think about things because we trusted a serpent over
Yeah.
their creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was, I don't know how I could trust a serpent over,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, so that's in Genesis 3, right? And you got to think about what the serpent is offering them.
Yeah, that is.
And that, I think
yeah.
that's really telling for us as humans today. Like, we will trust anyone and everyone if they offer us
That
what
is,
we want
yeah.
them to offer us.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you got to think also that the serpent is, it gives the description he's like the wisest of the animals.
Right.
But in your English translation, this is actually I want to jump a little bit to the Hebrew there. I think this is important because if you read at the end of chapter 2, it says, "Therefore a man shall leave his wife, leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed." Okay, they were both naked and not ashamed. All right, now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made.
Okay.
And the word that is there for crafty and the word that is there for naked is actually the same word. It's just translated differently, and I'm going to bring it up here. It's the same word, and it's arom. This Hebrew word is arum,
Yeah.
and it can mean naked. It can mean crafty. Maybe vulnerable or something.
Right.
But you get a sense that the serpent of all the other land animals is something. It's almost like it's got something in common with the humans.
Yeah.
There's some kind of just that word being there.
Right.
Right? And so yeah, we translate it differently in the English text, but it's the same word. So they were arum, okay? And then the serpent was the most arum than all of the other
That's pretty
beasts of
cool.
the field. You know?
And I was gonna ask you. That was actually one of my questions. Why they said, if there was any reason, it said they felt no shame.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, I know because they hadn't eaten from the fruit of the tree of life, they weren't ashamed of being naked.
Right. Well, and so we got to think. Let's keep the two trees straight. So it's the tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and
Okay,
evil.
yeah.
So they're eating from
Yeah.
the tree of life, but they're
It's the
not
fruit.
allowed to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Okay.
And when they get banished from the garden, it's specifically to keep them from eating from the tree of life now.
Okay.
So they're maintaining their kind of immortality by eating from the tree of life, and that's a gift to them.
Yeah.
But they're not supposed to eat
That
from the
was
tree of the
actually
knowledge
one
of
of
good and
my
evil.
questions too. I was gonna ask if they live forever because they ate from the tree of life.
Yeah, it seems so, and then this is something I think we take for granted. It seems to be that's what's happening because then, he says, this is at the end of chapter 3. It says, "Then the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us in knowing good and evil. Now lest he reach out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever." Therefore the Lord God sent him out from the garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man, and at the east of the garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So there is this. Now, I think it's worth noting that that's not the last place you see the tree of life.
Oh, really?
You see the tree of life again. Yeah, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you where. I'm going to
know
flip
that.
all the way to Revelation, and this is after all has happened, and Jesus has brought judgment and salvation, and he is now making a new heaven and a new earth.
Okay.
He's restoring everything. Right. All right. And this is from Revelation 22. This is the last chapter in Revelation, beginning with the first verse here. It says, "Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb, through the middle of the street of the city." Now, I want you to remember that in Genesis 2, we see this picture of Eden that's got a river flowing through it, right?
Yeah,
And right before this, I didn't read it, but right before this, it says that there in the new creation, there is no need for a sun because God is the light.
Right.
So it's playing off of this first few
Yeah.
chapters of Genesis here, okay? Also, on either side of the river, the tree of life, with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit each month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. No longer will there be anything accursed, but the throne of God and of the Lamb will be in it, and his servants will worship him. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads. Okay, and here's again. "And the night will be no more. They will need no light of lamp or sun, for the Lord God will be their light, and they will reign forever and ever." So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you don't see the tree of life for the longest time, and then when Jesus reconciles humanity with God, you see the tree of life
Yeah.
again, and we will live forever with him. And there's new creation.
I think that's cool. I also like the idea of the cherubim.
Yeah.
And I remember you explained that, and I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, yeah. So you see the cherubim in Ezekiel, and you see them
Yeah.
all through Revelation, and their job is they're kind of holding up the throne of God.
Right.
They're maintaining his chariots. They're holding the wheels of his chariots and holding up the throne of God. And so you know that where the cherubim are, that's the presence of God.
Right.
So it's the cherubim who are kind of keeping them out of the garden.
Yeah.
With this sword, this flaming sword that goes in every direction. If you know something about the cherubim, you know that they have a face on each side of their head.
Yeah.
And they don't really turn their bodies to move. They're kind of beyond our three dimensions almost. And they've
Yeah.
got a sword apparently that also kind of does that, which
Yeah,
is interesting.
It's cool to think about.
Yeah. What else you got for me?
And then also, well, this is more of just an observation.
Yeah.
The River Euphrates and Tigris.
Yeah.
I think it's neat that those run through where the world was created, and then you learn in school that was like the first civilizations in the Fertile Crescent.
Yeah.
The first, like, that we found artifacts from, at least.
Yeah, some of the oldest some of the oldest civilizations in the world, and of course there's stuff happening in other places, and there's all kinds of other
Right.
stuff going on. But yeah, as far as some of the oldest fortified cities and all that, and we'll get to that when you keep reading with the Tower of Babel, right?
Yeah.
And we won't talk about it right now, but yeah. So this is also, it establishes that there are 4 rivers that come out of that one river going through Eden,
Right.
and 2 of them are the Tigris and the Euphrates, which means that they have a concept of where this might have been.
Right.
Like it's not like this is a geographical reality.
Yeah.
Right? And it is a garden that they can't access because of the presence of the cherubim.
Yeah.
But it is a geographical reality.
Yeah. I just thought that was. You don't think about it until you really dig into it and
Yeah.
study it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's for 1 through 3. That's about all I had.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, we're going to keep reading through
Oh yeah.
and read through a little bit of the next section and come back with some more questions, observations, whatever.
Okay.
And we're just going to keep talking about Genesis. So, Eli, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Answered a lot of my questions.
Good. I'm
Pretty
glad.
good, yeah,
We'll
yeah.
come back with
Yeah.
more, and we'll pick up again next time. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.